Good morning. Good morning. If no one has told you this yet today, I love you. I love you. I love you because of the bright light that you are. You are, right now, lovable and loved. You are always lovable and loved. It's unconditional. I don't love you because you showed up. I don't love you because of something you did. I don't love you because you're raising your hand for something. I love you because you are you. I love you just because I love you. There's no reason. There's no rationale. There's nothing behind it. You feel as good in that as you want. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so convincing you why that's a reasonable thing for me to be doing. The reading today, Raymond Charles Barker. He was a minister in New York City, and he did a radio broadcast. And Ernest Holmes in California did a radio broadcast, and they both started the same way. They said, there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. There's a power for good in the universe bigger than you are, and you can use it. That's kind of a powerful idea. We're going to talk about the power, we're going to talk about greater than you are, and we're going to talk about using it. The title of the talk is actually, It's Useless Unless You Use It, because that power is there, and it's available for you to use it. And if you use it, that's great. And if you don't use it, that's great too. But it's your choice. That's why Barker's book was The Power of Decision. Once we have that decision to get started, everything follows on from there. So if you had a magic wand, well, there's even better than Harry Potter magic wands, one of those magic wands where you could just make anything happen, what would you make happen? What would you decide to bring into your life, into your experience, to the people around you, to your community? What would you change? What would you do? I brought my magic wand with me. It's a crystal wand. I have another one that I made when I was doing kids' birthday party magic shows when I was younger. It was a piece of wood. It was a dowel that I painted black with little white tips on it. It's a much more conventional looking magic wand. But this one, I can choose and I can create something. What would happen if you had a magic box? There were buttons on it with symbols on the buttons, and if you pushed the buttons in a particular sequence, you could get anything you wanted. Magic. Or it's Amazon.com. Think about it. 20 years ago, there was no box you could push the buttons and have the stuff show up the next day. Or the same day, or they're not going to have helicopters drop it off immediately. Now, the fact that you know how that works doesn't make it any less magical. There's a whole system in place to make that all work. The magic, once we understand it and we explain it, and we understand the details and the specifics and the science behind the how, that's great. But it's still awesome powerful. It's still a wonderful thing that we can use. There's another word for it as well. You can call it Amazon.com, or in another context, you can just call it faith. Faith is when you have the machine, you push the buttons, and you just understand that it's going to work. Faith is believing in the result without necessarily knowing how the whole machine is going to work. The magic is everywhere. The magic can be anywhere. You just have to open yourself up to the possibility that it's there. Okay? Now, if you know how I did that, that's cool, and you can tell somebody how I did that. But the fact that I decided to do that right then was kind of cool too. The magic is always there. Our good is always at hand. And whether you know how it works or not, it doesn't make any difference. You can still have glee and delight in the fact that it's working. Count three, everybody blow. 1, 2, 3. If you had a microwave oven,
It's in the pocket.
if you had it's in the magic wand. If you had a microwave oven, top of the line, state-of-the-art microwave oven, in biblical times, how useful would that be? No one would be able to figure out how to use it because no one would understand that it has to be connected to an electrical power source. A microwave oven, without being able to plug it in, has no point. So that was something that grew out of our ability to have electrical power everywhere. Same thing with the cell phone. Cell phones are great, but if there's no cell phone network, it doesn't do you any good. And no one is going to be able to figure out how to get that device to do those things. And for somebody who doesn't understand how they work, and I kind of barely understand how the internet works, and cell phones and network technology and all the rest of that stuff, but somebody who doesn't understand how it works, you can still use it. You can still use it. You can start with this is the magic box that I have, and this is what I type into it with my password and my credit card number to get the stuff to show up from Amazon. The same thing happens with the intentions that we put into our consciousness to bring something new into our lives. Back to the point I started with. You are loved. And you deserve all good. That doesn't mean you're going to have everything instantaneously. That's not the way our lives work. We each have what we believe ourselves to deserve to have. When we open ourselves up to more good, it doesn't come and drown us instantly. It gives us a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. One of my favorite prayers is to pray for something being 10% better than I could possibly imagine it to be. Because 10% is within my margin of error. It's like, okay, as good as I can possibly believe it to be, and let's go a little bit beyond that. And then that's what shows up. Could I have said 500% better? Yeah, I probably could have. Except if I didn't believe it, it wouldn't happen. We can create our experience when we open to the good, and when we learn to take advantage of it, and we learn to use the process, when we learn to press the buttons, when we learn what the magic is. When we use it, it works. But it's useless if we don't use it. And there are hints all around us. There have been hints going since the very beginning of recorded history of how this all works. In our spiritual practices class this week, we did a contemplation. It was a passage meditation on the prayer of St. Francis. Got some of our students here, some who loved it, some who hated it. That's okay. You're going to hear it again. This was supposed to be the talk last week, so it was going to be before the class. Okay. So I don't know if you're familiar with the prayer of St. Francis, which was either from the 16th century saint, or it was written in 1917 by some guy in Paris. Does it matter? No. Because in that prayer is enough richness and depth and enough guidance that just by doing what it says there, we can open ourselves up to our good. And if you don't recognize it by the title of Prayer of St. Francis, as soon as I tell you the opening line, you go, oh, that one. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. That's how it starts. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. I'm opening myself up to something greater. I know that there is peace that's greater than I am. That's the same thing, that there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. That's the infinite peace. Make me an instrument of that infinite peace. How am I going to do that? Well, it says in the prayer, where there's hatred, let me sow love. Well, that's kind of a pivot. Okay, if I go to a situation and I take that God presence with me and I say there's hatred here, and I'm just going to focus on the love. I know that there's love somewhere here, and that's what I'm going to invest and invoke. And that's what shows up. Where there's injury, pardon. What a great word, pardon. It means forgiveness. Something nasty happened, let me be forgiving about it. Why? If you bring to mind, I'm not even going to invite you to do this, but if you were to bring to mind something that happened in your past that really bothered you, that you haven't forgiven, you'd get that feeling right now of being angry and upset and put out by it, even though it's not happening now. It's something that happened in the past. Forgiveness isn't about making it okay and telling the person who victimized you or did something nasty that it was okay. It's about telling yourself that you are lovable and worthwhile and important now, and you don't need to carry that injury and that hurt around anymore. Where there is doubt, faith. Is my magic wand going to work? Is my microwave oven going to work? Is the little red hanky going to show up at the right moment? Whatever it is that we're intending, if we have doubt about it, let me turn to faith. Let me bring that into my experience. Where there's despair, hope. Without a sense of optimism, what are we doing? People who wake up in the morning say, this is going to be a crappy day, they're right! Congratulations! It's like that card game where the kids play where you fished your wish. Oh! I said I was going to have a horrible day, and I did. Am I a winner? No. What I want to do is, where there's despair, instead of facing that despair, I'm going to have hope. Okay, this day is going to be 10% better than the best day I could possibly imagine. And have the hope. Where there's darkness, light. Pretty easy. Stuff gets hidden off in the darkness. Right, I had a great celebration at the Ecclesia in December, all about celebrating the darkness and diving into the darkness and letting that transformative process be the light. Where there's sadness, joy. It's all about that different perspective, shifting it that way. And I changed one of the words because it says, "Oh, divine master," and it's like, there's not a divine master, there's a divine mastery. Religions all over the world, as far as I'm concerned, have been arguing about God's name, God's last name, for centuries. Jesus, Allah, Lord, Krishna, whatever. God's last name is within. If I'm looking for Christ, and I look for Christ within, that's where I'm going to find him. Oh, divine mastery, that Christ light within. O divine mastery, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. I don't want to look for somebody to give me the good. Let me be the person who's bringing that good into the world, and it's going to come back around. That's the way the world works. To be understood is to understand. Let me be that which I wish to see. To be loved as to love. Two people get together and say, I want to love you. You go first. That's not how it works. Take the bold step. Allow it to happen. And then in 3 quick lines at the end of the prayer of St. Francis is an entire spiritual practice that's as powerful as the 4 agreements, that's as powerful as anything that we teach. For it's in giving that we receive. That's by being in service. Because by being in service, we're opening ourselves up to let more good come into the world. And when it comes into the world, it comes into our lives. It comes to us, it comes through us, it comes as us. It's in pardoning that we are pardoned. You want to feel forgiven? Be forgiving. And the cycle continues to work. And there's one other change that I made. It's in dying to the self that we are born to eternal life. It's not in dying, it's not in death, it's not about funerals. It's about letting go of the idea that I have to have it all figured out, that I have to know where the handkerchief went, how the magic wand worked, what the mystical box does. Has anybody ever been to an Amazon warehouse? No. I've seen pictures of them. If I went into an Amazon warehouse, I wouldn't be able to find anything. So I don't need to worry about that part of it. I set my intention, I type in my request, the thing works, and I get what I was looking for. And I let go of the fact that I have to know how to go pick something out of correct bin in the warehouse. It's dying to the self. It's letting go of that. That we're born to the good. We're born to eternal life. There are a bunch of stories that I was going to tell about intentional prayer work that's put into action. There's a story of a woman who she was with her life partner, her boyfriend. They weren't going to get married for whatever detailed reasons there were there. But she was working and he was working, and he was really struggling. He really loved the outdoors, but he found himself living in Manayunk and having a big house, and he had to rent out part of the house to support the house, and he was working way too many hours, and it wasn't a satisfying job, and. And the prayer that we did was for all of that stuff to come together, for him and for her and for them together to be supported and fulfilled. Well, the bad news is they're not here anymore. The good news is they're out in Seattle, where he has his kayaks and he's doing all of his outdoor stuff and he's having a wonderful time. He has his dream job, and she's able to do exactly what she was looking to be doing. That opened up for them. Those are stories that happen all the time. When we open ourselves up to whatever the good is, the good has room to come in. Sometimes hand those around. I need one of them. Retta's going to need one before. Oh, there you go. We do these in our Beyond Limits class. These are called RPAs, or Rapid Pace Affirmations. These serve as a reminder. If you have some extras, Elizabeth needs one. She probably has them memorized.
Oh, that's fine.
If you look through this, there might be things where you say, I don't know about that. Because it might not be part of your experience right now. But as we read through them together, let's do it out loud. And see which ones you believe and which ones you believe could be possible and which ones you want to run out the door for. Okay? All together. I am worthy. I am prosperous. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. Now, some of those probably felt easier than others for you. Different people have different triggers, different things that they're sensitive to. It's all true. Every last bit of it is true. Take the card home and repeat these to yourself. If you want to, you can memorize it and then do it in the second person, where you can say, you are worthy, you are prosperous, and do it while you're looking in the mirror. Just catch yourself in the eye. Because it's the truth. But sometimes it's not inside of our realm of belief. We don't necessarily believe that by pushing the buttons, something magical is going to happen. We don't believe that there's actually power in the magic wand. We don't believe that if we say these things, they're going to come into our experience. But the fact is, they're true. When you say these things, you are speaking the truth. I am worthy. I am prosperous. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. All that good is available and accessible to each and every one of us, now and always. You can believe it or not believe it. You can have faith in it and allow it to come into your experience, or you can hold it at arm's length saying, I don't believe that's going to happen for me now. In either case, you're activating that power in the universe. You can use it. There's a power for good in the universe, greater than you are, and you can use it. So do. I love you. Have a wonderful day.